Earful Tower listeners, hello guys. It's Monday in Paris, and you all know what that means. It means another episode of the Earful Tower, and that's a show where we figure out France with the help of one guest at a time every week. And, well, when it comes to figuring out France, I think you'll agree with me that one of the biggest parts to figure out is the French language. So that's what we're going to focus on today. We've got the guest Camille, who is the voice and the brain behind the hit language learning website French Today. And what she's doing is she's giving me and, well, she's giving us all 5 tips on how to improve your French, whether you're good at it already, whether you're rubbish, just some tips that she talks through, and we have a bit of a rollicking chat about how she learned English, how I learned French, and, you know, just in general ways that you can speak better French. She was also very generous with her time and hung around for an extra 15 minutes at the end for Patreon members, and we had a big old discussion about the difference between vous and tu, which both mean you. And you'll figure if you listen to that very quickly that I can't even pronounce one of those words. Yeah, so before we get started, you know that we don't have ads on the Earful Tower, but one thing that we do have is Patreon supporters, and just allow me a second to firstly say a thank you to the almost 100 people who have opted in to pay a monthly subscription for this show. You guys are awesome, thank you so much, and I hope you're enjoying the bonus content. But for all you other people who maybe enjoy the show, maybe want to see it flourish, maybe want to help out, I would urge you to consider, I wouldn't urge you, but I would suggest gently that you consider supporting on patreon.com/The Earful Tower, where from, well, as little as $1 a month, you can really help secure the future of this show. So have a think about, hey, who am I to tell you what to do? Why don't you listen to a review of Patreon before we get started from a man calling himself Fitzy Golf Pro, that he left when I launched my YouTube channel, which you should also check out. So this guy, I don't know this guy. This is just another person out there doing his own thing, making golf videos, actually. And I'll read a comment that he put, and then we'll get into the episode. He says, I'm a supporter of the Earful Tower on Patreon. It is one of my favorite expenses of the month. Instead of buying magazines, newspapers, and books about Paris, Oliver takes me on real-life walks around Paris with interesting people, which I usually watch as I eat mon petit déjeuner. That means breakfast. Don't delay. Go and support Oliver on Patreon. You won't regret it. Anyway, got a lot to get through. Here comes the episode. Hope you guys enjoy it. Hang around at the end. I'll read out a few of the new iTunes reviews that you guys have left me and give you a look at what's coming up in the future. Let's get on with it.
One man, one country, one red scooter. Here's the Earful Tower with Oliver G.
Camille,
Yeah.
you're in the studio this time.
Yeah.
How fancy that we're sitting across from each other in Paris.
It's fantastic. And I love your studio. You know, you should not have rented Versailles for me. Really. It's too much of a honor. Thank you.
It's very nice to have you here in the person,
Yeah.
because regular listeners will recognize your voice from last season when we spoke over the phone.
Yes.
But you were in Paimpol.
Yes, that's
Brittany.
it. Yeah.
Are you from Brittany?
Not at all.
You're not a Breton.
No, not un Breton or une Bretonne.
Where are you from?
Paris originally.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
See, usually it's people from Brittany or elsewhere in France come to Paris. You've done it backwards.
Oh, I've done it so backwards.
Yeah. You've got it all wrong.
Absolutely. And I lived in Boston for 18 years.
That's wrong as well.
Yeah.
You're doing everything backwards.
Even worse, I lived in Method.
Where's that?
That's a suburb of Boston.
Wow,
so,
okay. See,
yeah.
I'm learning something. We're learning something. Don't you miss Paris?
No,
No.
because I get to visit it, and then it's perfect. It's like a vacation all the time.
Thank you so much for coming on to talk about, to help me and the listeners improve our French.
Wonderful.
Because it's a big part of life in France, speaking French.
It is, and it's really...
Some would say crucial.
Yeah, the French really appreciate it when you try to speak French, and even though they may answer in English because they want to practice their English, they do appreciate it. So always try, always, show what you can do in French, and even if it's totally wrong, it does not matter.
That's something we should talk about on another episode if you come to Paris again, this whole how to stop French people from answering in English.
Absolutely,
if there's a secret to it or something.
I'll be happy to, and
Yeah.
I'll come see you and talk about
Good,
that. No
good.
problem.
We gotta have something to talk about again because I like
Okay.
talking to you. But what you've come armed with today is a list of ways to improve French, ways to improve your French. 5 of them. So
Yes.
I figured we'd we just get straight into it. I mean,
Of
we've done the
course.
pleasantries.
Yes.
Okay, so I've got your list in front of me as well, and I've got the bullet points, and you'll have to explain them to me, okay?
Okay.
So the first one is focus on the start of the words.
Absolutely.
What does that mean?
Well, it's very different from what you usually see in books and places like that. The focus usually in French is on the ending of the words, like you go through all these verb conjugation and so on. But a lot of time, these endings are silent.
I have nightmares about conjugations,
Yeah. But in French, we have something called liaison. Liaison is when a word is going to go inside another word, kind of, and carry out a sound. And for example, if you take the word homme, that everybody knows, H-O-M-M-E.
Man,
Yes.
even I know that one.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it takes a lot of letters to write this short sound word, homme.
Yeah.
It's never going to be pronounced homme. Put an S at the end, it's pronounced the same way. Still homme.
Yeah.
Okay? What changes is the beginning because of this liaison.
Yeah.
So you're going to have un homme. You're going to have les hommes. You're going to have cet homme, etc. So it's really the word homme is going to be pronounced zom, nom, tom, dom,
So
but
it's-
never just homme.
So you focus on learning the start part of the word rather than the conjugations and liaisons.
Yes. I think that regular teaching methods, they put too much focus on the end, and they go over the liaison, which is a very, very important part of the French language. If you want to sound French, you have to do your liaison. There's no way around it. And they just explain the theory of it, but they don't give you enough practice. These books with explanation on one page and then a couple of exercises on the other page. They don't even have that for liaison usually. They go straight to conjugations, and it's so wrong.
I can't handle. I learned French a little bit when I first moved to Paris. I can't handle the way they teach here.
Yeah.
It's so. That's a whole extra episode. But this banging it into you, these kind of conjugations and stuff. So it's nice to hear you explain it to me in simple terms. But it made me think: do we have liaisons in English?
I don't think so.
I don't think we do it.
You have glidings, meaning you mash words together. Like you don't say "I am going to," but you say "I'm going" or
Yeah.
"I gonna."
Yeah, I'm
okay?
gonna. I'm
but
gonna.
you don't have liaisons now.
Yeah. Especially in America, a lot further. When I traveled across America, I noticed so many different accents.
Yeah.
But that's another different story again. Well, I'm losing the thread. Okay,
Yeah.
so you got to focus on the start of the word. That's the first rule.
Yeah, especially as a beginner, like get your liaison straight, really repeat as much as you need so you get these liaisons, and then, you can attack the verb and all the conjugation and so on.
Okay. And point 2, you've written here: learn to mistrust your ears. I've only just started trusting my ears.
So it's a double-edged thing because you have to trust your ears, of course, and especially for your pronunciation. You can't be second-guessing yourself all the time. You just have to go for it, and. But when I say mistrust your ears, is that sometimes you're gonna hear something and translate it into something which is not gonna be at all what the sentence was about. So, for example, we were talking about the word man before, homme.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
And I told you because of the liaison, if you put a CET, which means that man, okay, you're going to hear cet homme. And if you're an American, you're going to hear it's Tom.
C'est Tom.
Voilà,
Yeah.
c'est Tom.
Yeah.
And wonder what the heck Tom is doing
Yeah.
in Paris. So you'll be looking all over the place. Where's Tom? Where's Tom? Where's Tom?
Yeah.
When I'm just saying that man is wearing, I don't know, a beautiful coat, for example. So cet homme porte un beau manteau, and you hear cet homme, and you're looking for Tom. Okay.
Yeah.
So you absolutely need to correct your ears and stay totally focused on the context. Tom is not here. Tom is not living in Paris. The percentage of chance of Tom being here is, doesn't exist.
Tom's in Perth, Australia. That's my brother.
Oh, yeah.
That's where he is.
Okay.
C'est Tom.
Does he
Yeah.
have a beautiful coat?
Usually, yeah.
Oh, okay.
He's
good.
not listening, so we can say what we want about Tom. That's fine. Okay, learn to mistrust your ears. Something that's interesting about that is, I think it goes for the French people as well when they're learning English.
Yeah.
Because I guess the point is it's all about context and understanding what the person's saying. And I was talking to one of my French neighbors once, and I guess it's not exactly the same, but I was mispronouncing something. And I wanted to say that I was nervous, but the way I pronounced it at the time is I said 9 heures,
Oui.
as in like 9 o'clock.
Okay.
9 heures.
Okay.
Right? Instead of nerveux.
Yes.
And he was just baffled. He was going, why are you saying I am 9 o'clock?
Yes.
And he couldn't understand it. But he didn't say that. He said, I don't understand. I don't understand. I don't understand. And I said, je suis 9 heures.
Voilà. Yes.
It just didn't work. And then eventually and I said, look, nervous.
Yes.
Nervous. I'm nervous. You're not making it any easier. And he goes, oh, nerveux. I said, oh, okay. Well, from the context, he could have figured it out.
It is amazing.
He was probably drunk.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
It's amazing the number of people that as soon as you throw a little accent into it, they won't understand anything. Like I have the hardest time with tonic accent in English. When we learn English at school, they don't teach us tonic accent. So when I arrived in the States, I had no idea of the concept. And back in Boston, I went to buy some rhododendrons.
Right.
I still don't know where to put the tonic accent there.
Rhododendrons.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the guy could not understand me.
Yeah.
And I was like, come on, we're in Boston.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I'm trying to I have a problem with my plant. It's a rhododendron. And I went, what?
Yeah.
So, you call them rhodies. Like, you know, it's that plant. And he was like, no, I don't get it. And then I said, okay, rhododendrons.
Yeah.
Rhododendrons. I went, oh, you mean rhododendrons?
Oh,
and
man. Yeah, it's tough. I think it's tough for people when they're talking to someone from a foreign country to put themselves in their shoes.
Yeah.
I think everyone's sort of guilty of that, of trying to, and it's kind of almost a skill learning to speak the way that, or learning to understand other people who are speaking your language as a second language.
Yeah. And especially if you have not traveled, you're not accustomed to it, but so many times in the States, I, really translated for a cashier, like some Indian person trying to speak, and the cashier had no idea. And I mean, their English was beautiful on top of that. So come on. But they couldn't understand them. So it's really frustrating.
I'm with you on that one.
Yeah.
I get you. Okay.
Yeah, and French people are really guilty of that. Like, if they'll correct you all the time, which is super annoying. Yeah. But unfortunately, that's what we do with our children. That's how we teach them the language. Yeah. So we correct.
Do you want another mistake that I made was, it was the same neighbor, Stefan.
Wow.
He won't be listening, don't worry. So I said to him, he said, we're speaking in French. He said, how are things, how's work or something? I wanted to say, lots to do. That's what I wanted to say. Mm-hmm. So, as I understand, I should have said beaucoup à faire.
Oui.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
But I said beaucoup de faire, like that. And he just was so puzzled. And he just kept repeating it, beaucoup de faire. And he goes, why are you saying, I'll do his accent for you. Yeah. Why are you saying a lot of iron?
Yeah.
Why are you telling me a lot of iron? And I said, what do you mean iron?
Yes.
And then I didn't understand what he was saying back. So what I was saying, iron, as in like the element.
Yes, fair.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I was saying I had a lot of iron today.
Yeah.
I guess he thought maybe I was ironing
yeah,
clothes
maybe.
or something. But there was the context, the difference between beaucoup à faire and beaucoup de faire. I don't know.
Maybe Stefan is really wondering what you're doing in this, Versailles, in the middle of the 7th floor. I don't know which floor we're in.
It's at least the 7th floor.
Yeah.
Me and Stefan never understood each other, but we were good friends, and that was the most important thing.
Okay, wine solves everything.
That's how I started learning French. Was he'd come round to my apartment, and we'd speak 30 minutes of English, 30 minutes of French, and we kept doing that every 30 minutes until the wine ran out. That was how I learned to speak French, really.
The best way.
Yeah, old Stefan. Point 3 you've written here, fake French accent.
Oh, yeah.
I like
that
this one.
Yeah,
we both like it. There you go. So what do you mean by that? Because I've got something to add on this as well.
Yeah.
I think you already know what I'm talking about.
I'm not sure.
What's your fake French accent? What do you mean?
Well, when you speak a language, you really have to, if you want to, I mean, you can keep your voice and that will be fine. You'll have your English voice in French. That's fine. But if you want to have a better French accent, you're going to have to make an effort. It's not going to come naturally, okay? So imagine that you are a comedian or something like that, and really push this accent. Like, for example, when I'm speaking English right now, I'm using my French voice, and I'm kind of trying to have an English accent, but not too much. If I'm staying in my French voice, I can speak like that, and I can really be just like Maurice Chevalier and push a French accent, and that makes absolutely no effort for me to speak English like that. That's very easy. That's what comes naturally to me, okay? Or I can push it and try to have more of a British accent.
Yeah.
And that's what I try to do when I record my audiobooks, so it's easier for my listener. But to me, when I speak like that, it sounds really, really silly.
Yeah.
It's like I'm making fun, actually, of a British accent. I can do it, but it's so foreign to me. But I don't think it sounds that foreign to you, for example.
How interesting.
Yeah.
How I think when I speak French, a lot of my French friends mock me because I try and be too French. So I say a lot of when I pause, this actually incidentally comes back to what I was going to say about my fake French accent video,
Yes.
which I think you've seen. But whenever,
it's brilliant, yeah.
Yeah, well, thanks a lot. But whenever I stop to pause in conversation, I do the monk noise
Yes.
all the time. So I go, "Oui, just because I'm thinking for words, and they will go, "Oh, Oliver, look at you doing this French thing." But I'm just stalling. But the truth is,
Yes.
French people do that all the time. So if
Yeah.
I can't think of the word, if I want to say cet homme,
Oui.
I say cet homme,
Yes.
like that. But I think it sounds quite French. So I think deep down, I'm already doing the fake French accent thing. Although I don't really, when I talk French, I'm not sure that I push a French accent like the way you were saying to do it. You know, I think I still have a bit of an Australian accent deep down.
You should, because it's charming in French.
Right.
So that's another tip, actually. It's don't try to get rid of your accent if you're an English speaker, because the French love a bit of an English accent.
Right.
So,
But in an effort to improve my French, I
Yeah.
should fake it a bit. But there's a balance somewhere that's hard to find, I guess.
it is, because the thing is that if you push too much the first of all, your example with set
Yeah,
it
that
doesn't work.
I was doing that purely for the microphone. It would be more like when I'm trying to think of something, if I was gonna discuss something that happened last week. La semaine dernière j'étais.
Voilà, that works. You have to push to put the in the right place.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's like not in the middle of a liaison. We would never there.
No, strictly for if I had to struggle to say cet homme, then that's a concern.
The problem is that it sounds a bit contrived. Is that the word? I always say also be super careful with slang. You know, it feels so good when you want to put a slang word or an idiom for that matter. I know students who put, I don't know, like 3 idioms per paragraph. It's way too much. It's like, they're reciting a book and you jump from, idioms to idioms to idioms to idioms. Yeah, they're fun once in a while, and they can really make a long explanation short, but keep them, casual.
Too many idioms, you look like an idiot. That's what I always say.
Yeah, absolutely.
Have you heard the story that's, I've definitely told it on this show before, but when I moved to Paris and I played a lot of basketball with the basketball guys and these French guys, and they're always saying, mon gars, so like my guy.
Yeah.
They say, mon grand, my big.
Yeah.
They say, I don't know, all these things beginning with mon.
Okay.
And everyone calls each other mec, like dude, everyone. And I just thought, I didn't even think about it. And I was walking around calling everyone mon mec. Like, actually. So for you guys at home who don't know what that means, it's kind of like the equivalent of saying babe. It's like saying my guy. Like that.
My guy.
Even though it's just the same. They say mon gars, mon grand, whatever. You just can't say mon mec. No, and it was to my old sidekick on this show, James. I once emailed him and I said, he said, what time we meet in the studio? And I said, 7:00. See you there, mon mec, right? And when he came into the studio, sort of ashen face, he goes, you can't say mon mec to French guys. It means like babe. Yeah. And I said, are you kidding? I've been saying that for at least 6 months to everyone in the basketball court. I'd rock up and do the hand, like the fist bump thing. Salut mon mec, ça va?
That's why you had so many friends.
Maybe. That's why no one wanted to play on my team, is the real. Anyway, you mentioned before your audiobooks, and I think that's something that we should discuss before we get on to point 4 and 5.
Yes.
For people listening thinking, what the heck is an audiobook? They could be.
Yeah, they could.
What
So
is an audiobook?
an audiobook is a way to learn a language. It's something that you can download on all your device. We have apps on top of that. They're free. And the purpose of the method is to teach you French like it's spoken today. So learning French only from a written book is not going to get you the pronunciation, and it's definitely not going to get you the modern pronunciation, all the glidings and so on, that we can't even really write because, they change all the time. They're not really a rule. So with French Today audiobooks, you will learn at the same time traditional French. So I record everything at several speeds. And when I say speed, it's not so much the speed at which I'm talking, it's really the level of enunciation, okay? So one is going to be more traditional, like « Il ne fait pas beau, il n'y a pas de soleil ». And then the second one is going to be modern French, so « Il fait pas beau, il n'y a pas de soleil ». And that really will prepare you to interact with real French people when you come to France, Paris, or even all the other French-speaking countries in the world, because we speak like that now.
French Today. I asked what it is. The truth is, I know what it is because I have it. That's
Yeah.
how I'm learning French. But on the audiobook, you've said the best way to do it is to repeat.
Yeah.
Which is something we're going to get to in a second. But one thing I thought I'd tell you that you might like is, like you suggest, use the pause button a lot.
Yeah.
So in your, what was it, cet homme, I don't know, whatever the sentence is, il faisait beau, whatever.
Ouais.
And then you continue and you're meant to maybe pause. Not me. I go live speed with you. And I haven't done it yet, but I want to walk down the street just repeating. Like, it'd be like a scene from, what was that movie, Love Actually, where he's going around just repeating. I want to do that, but I don't quite have the nerve because I don't know what I'll say to the, people around. But it's quite fun. Check it out. French Today. There's going to be links everywhere on this site. But I think it's time for point 4.
Yes.
Which, repeat.
Yeah, because that's the only way that you are going to be able to say things without thinking about it, okay? It's the aim. If you want to speak French fluently, you don't think about what you say, or you're going to think about specific part of your sentence, but hopefully not the whole sentence. And some things should really be a reflex, like these liaisons that we're talking about, cet homme, okay? Nobody should say les hommes. It's not possible. You will never have heard that. So the best thing, I think, when you're starting to learn the language is to pick some short, really useful sentences and just repeat them with audio, okay? You can't trust your eyes to read a sentence and know how it's pronounced in French.
Sure.
So it has to be audio and just repeat until it sinks in. And like a song, or like poetry. And notice the difference between the way it's written, the way you think it should be pronounced, and the way it is actually pronounced. And learn that one, of course.
Of course. You can also do that live if you're fortunate enough to live in France. I mean, a lot of people maybe wish they were and won't be able to do what I'm about to say, but you can also do that. So when you go into the bakery and they say bonjour, you just repeat it, bonjour. So far, so good.
Yeah.
And then they say, ça va? You say, oui, ça va.
Yeah.
Until they say something like, qu'est-ce que vous désirez? You can't be, qu'est-ce que vous désirez?
Qu'est-ce que vous désirez?
No, but that's why when I was learning French, I did a lot of, I still am learning French, but I repeated a lot of things. Like if someone would say, I'll just do it in English, but if they said, what a lovely day, I'd say, what a lovely day. Indeed. You can just repeat stuff. Or if you ask someone directions and they say, second on the left, you go second on the left. It's just a really good way to practice repeating things instantly.
Absolutely.
Because that's the way they're saying it as well, isn't it?
And then you add mon mec at the end.
Yeah, I add mon mec. Listeners at home, do not add mon mec.
Qu'est-ce que vous désirez, mon mec?
Je désire vous. Je désire vous.
Je vous désire.
I'm glad you're here to help.
Yeah, then it's in the boulangerie. Whoa, okay,
Yeah,
that's
wow.
another podcast altogether.
We've got a lot of extra podcasts to do by the sound of it. Maybe you'll have to hang around in Paris. Hey, before we go on to the final point 5.
It's time for a commercial break.
I wish. I don't have, if you want to, if anyone's out there and wants to give me a commercial break, I'd do it. Just call. What I was going to ask, life in Brittany, what's that like?
It's beautiful. It's
Yeah.
really gorgeous scenery and not crowded.
So you're up, you said Paimpol, which is up north of Saint-Brieuc.
Yes.
I know that because I've been there.
Wow.
Yeah, I got a friend there, Fabien the Breton sailor, who also doesn't listen to this show. None of my friends listen to this show. That's not true. Some of them do. But Fabien, I don't think he does. Anyway, he lives up in Saint-Brieuc. I went and visited him.
Okay.
And then you're just above that.
Yeah.
On the way to, is that like where Ile Bréa is?
Yes, absolutely. Where you have to go through Paimpol to go to Bréa. And it's gorgeous scenery. It's
a
really
little island,
beautiful.
Yeah. Microclimate.
Microclimate, beautiful flowers, and turquoise water if you're lucky.
They call it the best day trip from Paimpol.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
Do they?
absolutely. It is. It is. The island of Bréa is like a province town, you know, like if you're close to Boston, except that it's 5 minutes away.
Right.
And it's absolutely gorgeous. It's really preserved and beautiful, and you can walk around and so on. But Bréa does get crowded
Tourists.
in
French
the summer.
tourists.
So if you want to go there, every tourist, everybody goes there. So you can still go there in the summertime and you'll still have some space and so on. It's nice, but the best time to go is, in my opinion, like April or something like that. You won't have as many tourists. And Paimpol, what is fantastic is that you have all these secluded, you have to know them, little beaches, and even in August, you'll have no one.
Really?
So it's not at all like the south of France, where if you go to Saint-Tropez, you can't walk on the beach, you know. Yes, it's warm and it's sunny and so on. So in Brittany, to have a beautiful, warm sun when the tide is in, because that's another thing, we have huge tides.
Yeah.
So sometimes there's just no water, you know, just mud.
Wow. Is
rain.
Paimpol like a tourist destination though?
Very much.
Yeah.
We're 8,000 inhabitants in winter, 30,000 in summer.
Yeah, okay, cool.
All the people that don't like too much heat, they go there.
So all the people that don't want to go to Nice and the Riviera come up.
Yes, so the French, but also a lot of Brits as well.
Oh, really?
Germans, a little bit in the summertime.
Well, I'm going to go in April. I'll see you in April.
Yes, okay,
But we need
come say hi.
We need the point 5.
Yes,
Point 5.
What is that?
You've written prepare sentences on your life. What does that mean?
Yes. Well, when you're going to be meeting people, chances are that pretty soon you're going to be talking about personal things. So prepare these sentences. You know, prepare to say where you live. J'habite à Paimpol. Je suis mariée. J'ai une fille. And the most important, et vous.
Right.
Okay? That's super easy. 2 words. Just 2 words, not, 2 sounds. Et vous.
Which means and you for
Exactly.
you guys learning. Yeah.
So chances you won't be on a tu basis with the person. So
Hey,
you
that's
can
a
learn.
whole nother podcast episode as well.
Yeah.
Tu and
Oh my
vous.
God.
Don't even get me started.
Yeah, there's a lot to say that is
know.
not said usually.
Really?
So you can learn et toi also if you want, if you're young, like say, under
Or if you're
20.
90. We probably have some 90-year-old listeners.
Yeah, you could.
Because
Then
if you're
tu
older than
everybody.
everyone, you too everybody.
You can.
That's the dream,
Yeah.
right? To be
Exactly.
90. To everybody. Nothing matters until you meet the queen or the president or whatever.
Yeah. So 2 important points here. Prepare sentences that have to do with your current situation, your life, so you can easily talk about yourself, but also send back the question to the person who's talking to you. They want to be talking about themselves as well. Okay, so it's something super important, because otherwise, if your French is not perfect and you only talk about yourself, you're not going to be making a good conversation at all.
True.
Voilà.
It's almost worth learning a sentence. If the conversation gets too difficult for you, you could perfectly learn a sentence that says something like, oh, I love politics, but I really love talking about Paimpol and Ile Bréa, you know?
Yes, and here you go.
Yeah. A few little key phrases to help you out. You know, something I can add, if I can be so bold, to tips for people that are learning French, is every now and again learn something that isn't typically like not a typical thing that everybody says, like a sort of old phrase or idiom, because I've noticed French people really love it.
Yeah.
So, for example, I was recently sitting with another guy from Brittany, David,
Oui.
and a few other people, and they were all speaking in French and English, a big mix. And then they were talking about where to go that night. It was in a bar. And I just said, I just leaned back and I said, ça me fait une belle jambe. Did I pronounce it right?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
What does it mean? I mean, literally, it means that makes me a nice leg.
Yes,
right?
that gives me a good leg if you want. Yeah.
But it actually means what, like?
It means I don't care. I don't mind.
I don't care.
I really couldn't care less.
Right, but do people say it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, ça me fait une belle jambe. Yeah.
So people say it, but not. It'd be very rare for Australians sitting in a Paris bar to say it.
Yep,
right?
I would say so.
So when I said it, he stood up from across the table and just walked around the table and kissed me on the cheek and said, "I love you, Oliver," and went and sat down again. So for you guys learning, it is worth learning the odd oddity, because people seem to really appreciate that.
A good quote from time to time also,
yeah.
like something from poetry or something like that, or from a very famous song. It shows that you are interested in French culture and so on. That's good.
That's a good tip.
You know. Yeah, just like you can just, be sitting in a bar and saying, "Oh, c'est la vie en rose."
Yeah,
everybody knows that one.
Yeah.
And people would be like, "Oh, yeah," because you're inventing kind of your own idiom there, So.
Yeah, you can take it really deep and start quoting a Verlaine, Rimbaud, and just say, "Oh, you didn't know that one."
Yeah.
Okay, that's another podcast episode for next time as well. But
I have a whole series about poetry on French
really?
Today as well. So
that's great. We'll share that. That will be in the episode description as well, so people can find that one. But you have been Camille.
I have been Camille. Yeah, that's what I go for lately.
Camille. Well, how do Americans say your name?
So in American it's Camille.
Yeah.
But my name is French is Camille.
Camille.
Yes.
I go somewhere in between the two.
Yeah.
That's what I call you.
Camille, like the Y of Yahoo,
but
with an E before E.
You have been Camille.
Yeah.
Yahoo. And thanks for coming in, and enjoy the rest of your time in Paris. And I hope next time you're in the City of Light, you'll come into this little studio again.
Will do, for sure.
Great. Okay, we'll see you then.
Okay, wonderful.
You're listening to the Earful Tower podcast.
Well, there you have it. Camille from French Today. As I said, that conversation continued basically after we said goodbye with 15 minutes on Patreon. Tu and vous, or tu and vous. Pretty interesting conversation there. And if you are going to listen to it on Patreon, I'll tell you now, halfway through, one of us said the F word. So if there are kids listening, don't let them hear it if you're that kind of parent. But yeah, like I said, I've got some iTunes reviews. They're really nice. 3 that came in this week. I'm going to read them to you. First one from Juan in DC. And he has written, fun, informative, and I dare say binge-worthy. I came across the podcast due to a mention in an email from guest Adrian Leeds. Yes, that was the last episode, real estate agent. He continues, as someone who's fallen in love with Paris and aspires to live there, Oliver and his guests offer an unvarnished, fun view of the expat life. No city is perfect. That's true. Oliver's honest view makes me love Paris more, idiosyncrasies and all. After a long day, I really look forward to listening to the Earful Tower. Good for you, Juan. And I saw you bought one of the tote bags. In fact, I think you bought maybe the last one. There could be 2 left. I even went down to the Peloton Cafe, took them all back and sent them out to the people that bought the last couple there. And thanks for your 5-star review there, Juan. 2 more to get through. One that says, great podcast. It's from K.O. Pelican. K.O. Pelican, what is that? Or Cop Elican, I don't know. I love this podcast. I listen so carefully to the arrondissement by arrondissement suggestions as if I can possibly use this information. Ha! I love the practical, non-whimsical nature of this. It will probably be a year or so before I'm in Paris, but I don't care. I'll listen every time. Well, thanks, K.O. Pelican. That means a lot to me. Thanks for listening. 5 stars as well. Last one. I like this one. I saved it for last because it made me chuckle. It's from Cynthia. And she says, I listen while I take walks in the forest where I live. Does that mean you live in the forest? That's good. I like it. Or do you just take the walks in the forest, perhaps? I listen while I take walks in the forest where I live. I smile and laugh while listening. He's so engaging and expressive. I love it. You're walking through the forest laughing. That might be quite fun to watch. He has very interesting subjects. The interviews with his guests are informative and entertaining. I've learned a lot about Paris and French culture and the French language. I hope you learn more about the French language today, Cynthia. I will continue to listen. Great. I will continue to put out the episodes. Speaking of which, thanks all you guys for your reviews, but speaking of the continued episodes, next week is a good one. It's with the Australian ambassador to France. Really different interview there in that, I had to send them the questions before I met him for them to review. I mean, I had to go through security to get to his residence. It was like getting in an airport. I learned that when I was at the embassy, I was technically in Australia, and his residence is 400 meters from the Eiffel Tower with one of the best views I've seen in the city. There's plenty of videos and stuff, and it's going to be coming out next Monday. So you guys will hear from me then, unless you're Patreon members, in which case, head over there now, listen to the continuation of this chat with Camille. Make sure you go on FrenchToday.com and get her audiobooks. And otherwise, I guess I'll see you in a week's time, or behind the scenes for you people who are watching the live shows on Facebook. A bientôt.